Welcome to Autism and Goodness. My name is Tiffany. Yeah, I've been going for a while. I don't know if anybody noticed, but yeah, haven't done one of these in a bit. So I'm back. A lot of life happened, so sorry for the brief abbreviation for those loyal subscribers, all two of you. Yeah, just wanted to come back. Thought I'd start off with a few updates. Few James 2 updates, but first I wanted to let everyone know, if you don't know already, that July is Disability Pride Month. Yeah, so this is the time we, show love to those folks that we know that have different special needs, physical, mental, what have you, things you can see, things you can't see. I'm fortunate enough for my employer to work with a employee resource group, or be the secretary of employee resource group, where we're able to kind of have different events during this month to kind of bring awareness to disability pride and just educate people and have people understand more about people with disabilities. So pretty cool. So I think a good thing to do July for Disability Pride Month is try to reflect on your own understanding of people with disabilities. It doesn't have to be necessarily autism, but just your understanding of people with disabilities, and how you treat them in their different spaces, and your level of understanding, and trying to your level of acceptance. I think that's important. But yeah, we do have a flag. I will put the flag up there so that you can see it. Um, the colors, I don't want to forget, so I have it down here. The black area of the flag represents those mourning victims of any type of violence against someone with disabilities, like any ableist violence or abuse. We also have red for physical disabilities. The gold stripe is for neurodivergence. The white stripe is for invisible undiagnosed disabilities. The blue stripe is for psychiatric disabilities. And the green stripe is for sensory disabilities. So the flag covers all of the range of different folks that falls into that realm. So yeah, just take the time and reflect, and give a little special love to someone who you interact in the world with disabilities. Not just not just for July, of course, but just throughout the entire, like, your rest of like your existence. Just be aware. But this should be a time where you can reflect and understand, like, how you can make a difference in small doses in your life to someone with disabilities, and that you interact with, or someone in your family or friends or people that you know that friends of friends or what have you. So excuse me, voice is a little raspy, kind of have a lingering cough situation going on, so I'll hopefully edit out all the coughing so that it's seamless. You won't have to see that or hear that. But anyway, so James 2 updates. So he has started his summer work program. He started that last week, so he finished up his last week. He's going into his second week. It's a total of 6 weeks. He got assigned to work at a park. So he's never done that before, so he'll be working outside. He says he likes it so far. Everyone's like, oh, it's too hot. Yeah, he doesn't seem to care. You have to remember that he is also 18, almost 19 years old, so him being out in the elements isn't quite as an issue for him. And also, he used to go to summer camp every year where he would be outside in the elements all the time. So I wasn't too concerned about that. Just more so him being able to do the work, which I feel he could, because he's done like yard work at home before. So and him being able to, usually the same thing, him being able to follow direction, him being able to initiate when he needs help, or say when he needs help, or if he doesn't understand something, speaking up, advocating for himself. So all the things that I normally worry about when he's in these summer work programs. Not too different for the park situation. He has a big old jug, insulated jug that has water. He packs his lunch every day. He gets 30 minutes for lunch. He works 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, 4 hours, no, 5 hours a day. But yeah, so far he says he likes it. It's him and two other guys that are in the group with him, so it's a small group, which is good. I'm laughing because as soon as I saw his job coach, I said, wonder how this is gonna go. How can I put this? She's young and cute, so looks right to be in his, what I know of his little taste of ladies. So if he develops a little crushy crush, I wouldn't be surprised. But her name is Paige. She's very nice, young and cute. So we'll just see how that goes. Yeah, he develops little. He's developed little crushes with people over the years. So, usually anyone who's nice to him, who's cute, he gets a little crush on them. So we'll see how that goes with him and Paige and the rest of the gang. But so far, he says it's going well. He does like it. So yeah, we'll just see. Other things. Sorry, just trying to run through. I think I may have briefly mentioned the last episode, maybe. We were going to meet with OCHN, which is Oakland Community Health Network. They offer many different resources that are paid through Medicaid, which since he has SSI, he has Medicaid. But they connected us with an organization called Community Learning Services, or Community Living Services. It's CLS. I'll look it up and I'll put it down here. But they offer a lot of resources. So what I'm hoping to help, a lot of it is like many different things, but one thing that stood out is like community living support. So like right now he doesn't go anywhere alone. Like he doesn't. So and I just don't know how to like I can't just have him go. I need help figuring that out because there's a lot of barriers to that. So like we know his communication. I mean, he could communicate enough to like, you know, talk with somebody, interact with somebody, but I'm trying to get more support with helping him being able to, you know, eventually like go to the grocery store by himself. We are fortunate we're in a community that it's a lot of things are kind of within walking distance. So want to be able to eventually have him be able to go out in our community and navigate through the community, or take the I talked about the little bus transportation that's door to door, being able to do that, just being able to go out and do things by himself, because while I'm happy to transport him everywhere, it's a lot. So and it's not doing him any favors by me doing that. So I want to be able to empower him to be able to do that himself. So they have that type of support. They also offer support where they will teach things like helping to balance your bank account, more like one-on-one things. They offer like mentorships. It'll be like someone that, you know, might have a similar disability as him that's in the program but is a little bit further along, and kind of help support him in that way. So it's a lot of different resources that they offer. They sent me a bunch of paperwork to review and fill out. We talked about like kind of his needs and like getting to know him. So I sat on the phone like 2 different intake meetings to talk through that, and like what we're looking for. So I have a buttload of paperwork I need to sign that's in my inbox, in my email box right now. So I'm going to take care of that at some point today, so that we can see if we can start that program, and I'll just keep you updated on how that goes. Trying to think what else. Yeah, from like a me update, I mentioned before I did an episode about self-care. So I did a little self-care for myself this weekend. I actually went camping by myself, which, I'm sorry, glamping, because camping, not really going to be able to do that. So I was able to find this awesome place called Getaway. It's like in the Thumb area. I think it's called Columbiaville. Not super far from the house. It's like maybe 40 miles from the house. And stayed in an awesome cabin, fully set up, has a bed, bathroom, but you're in the woods. You have a place to set a fire. All you pretty much had to do is just bring your food and any of your little essentials that you needed. Yeah, no internet service, no cell service. I think I had one bar, so I was able to at least text with people and see a little bit of Instagram, but like for the most part, one bar of cell service the whole time, no internet. But it was great to just kind of unplug and just focus on nothing. I brought some crafts. I found this like paint by numbers thing at Target that I started working on. That was a little harder than I anticipated, but I was able to I got a substantial amount of it done. This other thing that I got from Target that's a craft, it was like one of those, it's like needlepoint, but not really. But it was a little more advanced than I anticipated, so I kind of put that back in the box and just worked on the paint by numbers thing, which kept me pretty busy. I listened to a few podcasts. I was able to still get those. But yeah, for the most part, just spent that weekend just unplugging. So I'll try to make that a regular thing. I had anticipated recording an episode while I was there, but I brought all my equipment except for the docking station that I need to connect everything into my laptop. So wasn't able to record while I was there, but if I do it again, I will try to do an episode there so you can at least see the place. I do have a video and everything that I'll show. Actually, I'll plug it in right here of the place that I stay. So I'll plug it in here. So this is just some footage inside of my cabin. As you can see, it looks like I'm up in the trees, but I'm literally surrounded by forest all around me. Excuse the mess, but it's a little messy. There's my kitchen. I need to clean up. It's pretty junky, but it's just me. I have a bathroom. It's over there. But yeah, just hanging out. Lady in the woods. Solo. So that was the cabin I stayed at. So it was pretty cool. Definitely highly recommended. It's not really a place you go to like as a family trip situation. Not to me anyway. I think it functions best if it's just you or maybe you and another person. So no more than two people. That's just my personal opinion. It's so quiet. Like you could hear a pin drop. Like it is very quiet, very peaceful. They have special rules where, you know, by 10 o'clock, they want you to basically shut it all down. If you had a fire, put it out. 10 o'clock is quiet time. So it's not a place where you bring like a bunch of kids because of the fact that, there is nothing to do. You have to bring the stuff and keep everyone entertained. So, I mean, you can bring kids, but it's really not, I don't think, set up for that. And as you saw, like from a space standpoint, they do have like the 2-bedroom cabin. That was the 1-bedroom that I showed. They have 2-bedroom cabin, but again, like I don't see it as a place where I would take any kids, like or take my family. It would be like a good getaway for yourself or you and a friend or a couple friends, like just you and a couple adults. No more than. I mean, if it's a 2-bedroom cabin, I mean, if you want to double up, but like I would, it's a good girls trip or it's a good couples trip or just like a solo trip. So, but simple, affordable. Like I said, just bring your food and your snacks. They have things you can purchase there. But yeah, it was very straightforward. I set a fire and didn't burn my hair, so that was a concern. so I was able to set a fire with no problem, not burn my hair off. So still here. But yeah, it was a good time. Good chance to unwind. So yeah, that's just a little update about us during this Disability Pride Month. Also, speaking of Disability Pride Month, I've been thinking about this for a while and thought, what better than this vlog podcast thing that I have going on to kind of bring in like movie review type of things that are maybe relevant. So, I saw this documentary like weeks ago. Actually, maybe it's been maybe a month or two ago. Or maybe a month ago, called Tell Me You Love Me. It's on Netflix streaming, and I'm sure by now a lot of people have saw it, or at least heard of the story, but wanted to just talk through the story that's featured in the documentary and just give some initial thoughts. First, before I get into the story, it's a lot. It's a hard watch to me. Like, I don't know specifically because I have a child. I'm a caregiver of someone with special needs, but it's a hard watch. It was a hard watch to me. Yeah, it was a tough one. So I'll give a quick synopsis. So, roughly like 2015, year 2015 or so, at Rutgers University, there's this professor. Her name's Anna Stubblefield, and she's like an ethics professor. Her whole life is about like ethical treatment of kind of people regardless of like race, gender, disability, all those things. So she like committed her life and career to like those type of causes. While teaching like one of her ethics courses, there was a gentleman that was in one of her classes. His name is John, and John has he lives with his mom and his brother. His brother, whose name is Derek, has cerebral palsy and he's nonverbal. Basically, from a cognitive standpoint, from what they can attain and like from any testing, he pretty much has like the intellect of like a maybe a 6-month-old, like not like no more than like a toddler. So and at that point in the time he was I think late 20s, maybe almost 30. So he John was in Anna's class and she showed a video about a technique called facilitated communication. And so within the video, it featured a girl who had similar characteristics as his brother, nonverbal, never has been verbal, like acted in the same manner and all that. But I believe she had autism, but very, very similar to what he saw in his brother. So how facilitated communication works is that if there's someone that's nonverbal and also physically can't like type on a device themselves, there's a facilitator that like holds their hand to support their hand and have them punch in what they want to say into this device. I'll say what I thought about that when I first saw that in a minute, but in the video it showed that the girl was able to not only communicate but also eventually like take college courses, and I believe she eventually got a degree. So that's like wow scenario. So like John was like, oh my God, this looks amazing. He came up and talked to Anna afterwards, like, hey, I'm really interested in learning more about this facilitated communication. My brother is very similar to the person featured in the video. Can you meet with him and kind of see if this is something that will work with him? She said, okay, no problem. Let's set it up. So she came over to their house. And she brought the device. I have to remember what the name of the device is. So if I remember, I'll put it down here. But she brought and put a picture. She brought the device for him to use, and so she basically asked him, I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm not trying to degrade you or anything. I just want to see how much you understand. So from the device, like he wasn't able to physically like kind of hold his hand straight or anything, so she's holding his hand, and she asked him a few questions, like small questions, like before we got to the device, she brought pictures of things just to kind of see if he could like point at things and just get an understanding of what his intellect was. So she asked him, I'm going to ask you a few questions, not trying to degrade you or anything, just want to understand what you understand and just see where we're at. So she had like pictures, and it was one picture. She had a couple pictures out, and she asked, can you point to the president? And he pointed to picture of President Obama. And then it was other things that she asked him about to like, can you point to this, point to that? And he was able to like, sort of point to the things so she could at least understand like, okay, he has some understanding of things. So, and let me take a step back. His brother John had also mentioned before he even got to the point with Anna, he said throughout the years, he always felt his brother, he understood more than what he was like, verbalizing, but, they were never really sure. Nothing like outrageously like things, but like, if like, say for example, John and like their mother, Daisy, who was amazing, I'll get to her in a minute, if John and Daisy are having a conversation and Derek is there, Derek would start like grunting at a particular point in the conversation, like he's trying to get in the conversation, but he can't verbalize. So John always kind of, had in the back of his mind, like, I think something might be there. I'm not really sure, but I feel like he knows a little bit more than what he presents. So after going through the pictures, Anna brought out the device and had Derek work on the device. So he's not, of course, doesn't have the motor skills to be able to hold his hand and like actually tap and type out things. So she's holding his hand and having him type things out. So she's asking him questions and he's answering it in very, very, very small phrases, like maybe one or two words. And then it's like not spelled quite right. It's like, if he's trying to spell half, I think it was like HV, but like you can kind of get the idea of what he's trying to say. And then, so she's working with him. And then, I think at one point she asked him, I know your name is Derek. Do you prefer to be called something else? And he typed D-Man. And then, she's like, So she asked, Daisy, his mom, do you know what D-Man means? And she's like, oh yeah, a guy that worked with him like years ago used to call him D-Man, so he must have liked the nickname, so that's probably why he typed it in there. So she's like, oh, okay. So for some reason, Anna started calling him Da Man instead of D-Man, so it was really weird in the documentary that like, it's clearly supposed to be D-Man, but she's calling him Da Man, but that's besides the point. So anyway, she comes to the house and works with them, and what she is saying, he's slowly progressing in his communication. At one point, so much that she felt that he could take a college course. So she got him into a course, I think it was like African American Studies. And so she got him in this course where she went with him and, she would, hold his hand and type. But the way she's holding his hand, so like when they initially showed it, it was more like people were supporting an arm. But she's holding his hand like this, like holding the hand and like just his finger and like going like that. So that kind of was like, okay. So in the class, he's teachers ask a question. He's responding on the device with her support. He's able to like write these papers with her support. So like John and Daisy are like, oh my God, this is amazing. I think this is the part that gets me is like when you have someone that you've been taking care of for so long and you know them a certain way and then this whole new door opens up. It's like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is like the best thing ever. It's like God answered prayers. So going back to his mom, Daisy, so she's a single mom. I guess Derek's and John's dad like took off shortly after Derek was born. They knew kind of from birth something wasn't quite right and he was diagnosed relatively early. With cerebral palsy and that he was nonverbal. But she had been, like I said, at this point, he was pretty much almost 30 years old. She's been his sole caregiver for that long. And I believe when John became of age, they're both like his guardian. So, but she's been like an amazing support. Like that's a long time. Like I'm going to be there in 10 years roughly. So like that's a long time to support someone who, he can't walk on his own. He can't verbalize. He can't use the bathroom on his own. Like, he can't do anything. He's totally dependent on her. And also, she has, in her community, she's been a person that's been very much involved in, like, disability rights for especially people, Black people, because I'll do an episode about that at some point. But, like, something with Black people and, like, disabilities, it's like, it's still a thing in our community where it's like, it's like you almost feel like, I guess like an old stigma, like where you feel you gotta hide them or whatever. But anyway, I'm not going to digress in that. Maybe that's a future topic. But anyway, she's been like a trailblazer in our community and like, been awesome taking care of him all this time. So what's happening, so going back to Derek and Anna working together in this college course. So Anna, from Daisy and John's perspective, Anna starts saying, I want Derek to come to the conference on facilitated communication. And, John thought, that's amazing that my brother will be in this conference. But John noticed something very important. I brought up the race thing, is that, the community for this facilitated communication, like the community of people, they're all white. Anna's white, but Derek and, his family, they're Black. So, like, he's like, Derek's the only Black person in these spaces. And Anna wanted him to come in and, like, give a speech, of course, through the device. And also just be more involved in that. And so John at first thought of it as a positive. It's like, well, my brother will be a trailblazer. I think he called him like the Jackie Robinson of facilitated communication. So, which all sounds great. So, he did that. But the more Anna worked with him, she started, and now this is her telling the part of the story, she's saying that she's starting to fall in love with Derek. And then she says that Derek is communicating to her that he is in love with her through the device. Okay. And then this is where it gets like, yikes. So then at some point, according to Anna, Derek decides that he wants to be physical. You know what that means? Sexual. So, and again, she says it's all through the device. So she sets up, so she waits until they're alone. She takes them to her office and she lays a mat down and sets it up so they can have sex. And I guess they do this a few times. Again, Derek's nonverbal, cognitively, his whole life, everything's documented, has the intellect of a toddler. But now all of a sudden he's doing these papers and all with this facilitated communication. Like, she's the only one really seeing that. Now, there was a point in the story where with the college course that Anna had a person like work with him separately to write a paper for the course. And according to that person is that she didn't help Derek write the paper, or any, like, she didn't even read the material the paper was about. So all of it was his words, which, sure, I mean, I'm not saying that that's not necessarily true. That could very well be true. However, so, fast forward to this physical part. So really, I think a little bit before the physical part started, but they had communicated between each other, Derek and Anna, that there was an attraction there. John and Daisy start saying that they're noticing Anna's overstepping. So Anna's wanting Derek to live independently. Anna is complaining about the type of food Daisy feeds him. Like, again, Daisy's been his caregiver for 30 years at this point. Complaining about the food, complaining about the music. They had mentioned how, Derek likes gospel music and he likes to sway and stuff because they go to church and he sways to the music and everything. Didn't like him listening to gospel music, wanted him to only listen to classical music. This is Anna interjecting herself on this family like this. Told Daisy she's babying him too much. Now, again, I told you, he can't walk without a support. He has to be held to walk. He can't use the bathroom by himself. He wears a diaper. He can't talk. He can't feed himself. He can't do any of these things. So she's pushing for Daisy to have him live independently. So Daisy's like, how? So Dan was like, Anna's like, well, I looked up this program and he can be in this program, which the program costs money. So they're like, well, who's going to pay for that? So Anna's very much pushing an agenda on them. So fast forward to them becoming physical, and I guess they've done it a few times. So then I guess one day Anna comes over to their house, and according to her, Derek communicates through the device that they're in love. He communicates that while Anna's there to John, the brother, and Daisy, the mom. So of course they're both like, whoa, what? Because as far as they knew, Anna's just coming to help him with this device and teaching him how to communicate. So they were just thrown for a loop. So then I guess Anna says to Daisy, well, yes, we're very much in love and we've been intimate. I tell you what, and Daisy said it in the documentary, it took everything in her power not to reach up and slap her, because I can't imagine. I just can't imagine. I can't. So anyway, So John gets upset. He leaves the room. He says he leaves the room. He just throws up. Like, he's just like, what's going on? So they're visibly upset, and they don't know what to do. So oh, I'm sorry, I forgot a very important part of this. Anna is married with, I think, 2 kids, if I'm not mistaken. She's married. She's married to a black man, if that's important at all. But she's married to a black man. But so I guess Daisy's mom is trying to ask her, well, I don't even understand how this happened. What happened? I don't understand. You're married. First, like, let's forget everything else. You're married. Does your husband know? Oh, well, I'm gonna tell him, and I hope that me and Demand can be together. So Daisy's like, I think it's best for right now that you just don't come around anymore. So Anna was upset by that. So Anna started calling Daisy, leaving voicemails every day, leaving voicemails every day, leaving voicemails every day. But in the background, Daisy visibly shook, like, this all doesn't sound right. Like, I feel like there's been a law broken here. So she contacts a lawyer, and they advise her to go to the police, and the police basically say, well, if you can record, like, a conversation with her, like, admitting this, and then we can move on this. So so Daisy calls Anna and says, hey, played it real smooth. Daisy's a better woman than I am because, man. So Daisy said, yeah, Derek's been very upset. I think he misses you. Can you explain to me, when you say that you guys were intimate, what does that mean exactly? Because Derek can't physically do anything. And so Anna says on the recording, well, I mean, we figured it out. We just laid down a yoga mat on my office floor, and we just figured it out. So Daisy's like, you could hear in her voice that it's killing her, but she has to have this conversation to get this evidence for the police, essentially. And so they're talking, and then Anna was like, I'm going to do whatever I can. I promise you. Or she said something about, it was a weird way she said it, that she's going to swear in blood, or write in blood, or something like that she would take care of Derek Demand for, make sure, she gets a divorce and she can devote her life to taking care of him. So with that information, the police were able to charge Anna. They had a whole trial for it. She was found guilty of two counts of first degree aggravated sexual assault, and sentenced to 12 years. But she ended up doing an appeal 2 years later, basically on a technicality. Like, there was a lot of testimony regarding facilitated communication that wasn't entered. So basically, the technicality is how she was able to get off after 2 years. Another part of the documentary they talk about in relation to facilitated communication is there have been studies. So facilitated communication is kind of a controversial subject in the disability community because of, I told you, the manner of how it's done. So there was a study done where they tried to see if the facilitator wasn't introducing any, like, unconscious bias or anything to what they were typing. So they did a study where they had the person with special needs and the person that's helping facilitate communication on the device, where they would show the facilitator picture, but then they would show the person with special needs a different picture, and then ask the person with special needs to type it. And the special needs person was typing the picture that the facilitator was shown, not the picture they were shown. And it happened in almost every instance. So it's not, there's something there where some bias is being introduced in a lot of situations. And it seemed like that might have been the case with Derek, because John also made the point, is like, Anna seemed to get all this work and output out of him, but when I worked with him, or my mom worked with him, we weren't getting anything of that level of communication. And we know him more than anybody else, so we're not getting that level. So So basically, she served the two years. She was granted the appeal. She wasn't able. She's suspended from Rutgers, not able to teach. Um, Another thing that stood out to me before I kind of get into some thoughts, when John described the physical harm she did to him to have sex with him. Um, so because this is before they knew that they had been intimate or anything. So John said that they were changing his diaper and they noticed all of these marks, these scraped up marks all over his back and his backside. And they were like, oh my God. So they called his school because he goes to like a special needs school. They said, hey, did Derek fall or anything? Like, no, he didn't fall. So so Derek is a small statured guy. He's maybe like 5'2". He's a small guy. And he has cerebral palsy. Anna she's not plus size, but she's a shapely woman. Like, if I was to guess, maybe like on the taller side, but very shapely. And John described like the force that she must have put on him in order to do this, for him to have those marks. It's disgusting. Like, you weren't even, you were trying to, she was claiming to try to, be, speak up for him and have him have a voice, but she just pretty much treated him like a object, essentially. Yeah, that was a little tough because John has to feel terrible to even have to introduce this person because he thought he was helping his brother, and then all this happened. Another thing that, so from Anna's standpoint, she still to this day doesn't feel she does anything wrong. She feels that Derek seduced her. Yeah. So, her words. So, she still feels that he seduced her, that it was consensual. Yeah, no remorse. So yeah, Daisy and John, you could see the heartbreak on both of their faces, even though it's happened, now almost 10 years ago. So yeah, like I said, it was a hard watch for sure. So I am gonna just talk through my thoughts. I'm gonna give it a little bit of commentary throughout the thing, but first, facilitated communication. I guess the first thing that popped in my head when I saw how it was being done, it was like, interesting. Because initially the way they were describing it in a particular case is that someone was holding, just like supporting their arm. That's very different from doing this, like holding a hand and doing this. That's very different. So, I guess for me, if there was going to be something called facilitated communication, I would want like a device or of some sort to just hold their hand and allow them to be able to, like, to have them gain control and then have them navigate to really understand whether or not they're able to communicate or not. Because when you introduce humans, as the study showed, things get introduced, other factors get introduced, and they're introducing things that aren't really true. So with Derek, it seemed to me that he has some communication skills as demonstrated when Anna first met him. But it seemed to me from that point, it seemed like what am I trying to say? From the point that she first met him, it was like have him do like little things here and there. Like he just skyrocketed to doing like college level work, like in a very short period of time for me. Like I was like, yeah, having been in a therapy situation where you're teaching someone a skill that they didn't previously have, it doesn't usually move that fast to me. So, that kind of stood out to me too. It's like, wow, if that's true, that's amazing. So, yeah. The other thing I wanted to talk about is, and I mentioned it briefly earlier, race. So, Derek, while raised by a single mom, he was well cared for. Like, he was well taken care of. Like they weren't, struggling by any means. Like they were like John was going to Rutgers. I believe he was getting his master's at that point. I believe he was getting his master's. So very solid family, other than the dad leaving, but whatever. Like, and Anna was trying to push this narrative almost that he wasn't getting the treatment he deserved because he was with a single mother. That was the narrative that in the agenda she was pushing. And, I was raised by a single mom. Like, yeah, my dad was always there, but day to day I had a single mom. So like, and I could literally call my dad for anything, anytime I wanted. But again, day to day, single mom. And I feel like we get hung up on like these stereotypes of, what we think is best. But if it's presented to you as, well, yeah, she's a single mom, but she's still like, he's well taken care of. And like, she has two sons that are, one son is, like I said, getting a master's, and the other son, he's special needs, but she's taking care of him. She's his caregiver. And she's also, on top of that, she's also doing things for other people with special needs in her community that look like her. So she's like doing a lot. So Anna wasn't even trying to see that. She was only saying, well, you're a single black mom, and, you're not feeding him the right things, and he's not listening to the right music, and It was just a lot of narratives being pushed on Anna's point, where she was overstepping, like kind of before the physical thing happened a little bit to me. Not a little bit, a lot of it. And so it was really rubbing them the wrong way. And I just, I know when James was first diagnosed with autism, and any space that, any program we've been in, we're usually the only black people. Like, usually. Like, every now and then, I'll meet another black person. Even, like, schools, like, we're one of one usually of black people. And it's, and that's partially why I'm so vocal about, because I don't want to hide them. Like, there's no reason to hide them. Just, there's nothing to be ashamed of. He is who he is. And, everybody deserves to have these resources, or have the ability to access resources regardless of what you look like. So there's just a lot there with disabilities and like race relations, because I've experienced it myself. Because like, again, I'm usually the only one, and a lot of times they'll just assume that I'm a single mom. And I'm like, well, no, I'm married. Even if I wasn't, doesn't matter. Like, well, they'll like try to handle me with kid gloves. I'm like, nope, I'm married. I have 3 degrees. I didn't know how to bring my resume. So, yeah, so they kind of put that on you without even understanding who you are. So it's a thing for sure. And I feel like that was definitely into play here. The other thing, okay, let me get a sip of water. Okay, so the whole thing with them being physical and her sexually assaulting him. Let's say Derek did not have the cognitive skills of a toddler. Let's say he had a higher intellect. Let's say he had all those things. He just physically presented a different way. Let's just say that. Again, at this point, he was 30 years old. Again, let's say all those things were true. That, yep, he demonstrated all this intellect. He demonstrated the understanding. He demonstrated all the communication through this device. An intellectual maturity and a emotional maturity are 2 different things. So you could have like a child, like a 10-year-old that has a high IQ and, is like the next Albert Einstein. That doesn't mean they can have sex though. Like, that's 2 different things. So we just have to, like, And the other thing about that is he has guardians. So before, let's say, they were like, Anna was in love with him and he said he was in love with her. Let's say all that was happening. I guess, well, he has guardians. So I'm trying to find the right words. It's like, I'm not just going to do anything physical with him. It was like Anna just disregarded he had guardians. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she just disregarded he had guardians. And that's literally their job, is to make decisions for him. Like, not necessarily she should go with him and say, like, yeah, can we have sex? Like, I guess I just wouldn't have went there at all, given the situation. And it seemed almost to me, the way Anna described her life and her upbringing, is that she had some type of maybe like hero complex almost, where I think a good thing she was saying early in the documentary is that just because someone has a disability doesn't mean that they need to be treated any differently, or they needed to be ostracized or anything like that, or they didn't have rights. True. However, again, when you're talking to someone, a man, he's a man who's 30, you're just now discovering he can communicate. All his life, everything's documented. Any test that's been run on him, any evaluation that's been had, has always said he has the cognitive skills of a toddler. You've tapped into this intellect, you say, that you did. Great, but that's not the same as him being ready to have a sexual relationship. Like, those two things aren't mutually exclusive. Like, you can't just assume that he's ready to have sex. Like, that just doesn't go together all the time. So I think that's just important to say, because I'm not really sure intellectually where he stands. Like I said before, like the initial meeting he had with Anna was telling, where he could do some things, he could identify some things, he could put very short phrases together, he could answer a question like one word or a couple words. But I guess I just didn't understand how he went from that to writing college papers. Like, I didn't understand that, because I felt like that would have came out a little earlier to me. So the timeline seems weird about that. But again, like I said, the intellectual, that doesn't necessarily mean that it was time to have sex. And again, I go back to what John said, is like, yeah, you were hurting, like, you were injuring him. He has cerebral palsy. He's a small statured person. Like, it was just weird. So, weird, disgusting, unacceptable, all the things. And then the trial, and having Daisy sit through that as a mom, caregiver, everything she'd ever went through with him. John, he's bringing this person around to try to help his brother, and she does this. It's like just the worst of the worst feeling. I can't imagine the level of guilt he feels. Yeah, like I said, this is a tough watch. And I said it before, it's like, man, we gotta trust so many people. Like, I don't even have James is not, on the severe end of the spectrum. He's in the middle. However, you just have to trust so many people that they have good intentions and they mean well, and, they're there to help you, and they're not evil. I think in Anna's head, she thought she was helping him. Because she just still holds that, like, no, that we were in love, we were lovers. That's what she says. These are her words. But yeah, I can't see how she sees that, but again, I think there's something else going on with her where she has this kind of complex of and she's created this narrative in her head about that, and is deciding to stick with that. So yeah, but yeah, like I said, it's called Tell Them You Love Me. It is on Netflix. Take a watch. Like I said, it's not an easy watch, but it brings up interesting points. I gave my opinion. Again, that's my opinion. Um, just based on my experience and like what I saw and my initial thoughts about facilitated communication in general. I don't think facilitated communication is like considered uh like a legit therapy, for lack of a better term, because there's so much controversial things around it. So it's kind of hard to really say if that's of value to someone. If they can, like I said, figure out a way to do it where it doesn't involve like another human to introduce that bias or introduce their own stuff, then maybe it is something worth looking into more. But it's just because of these stories, and there were other stories that they mentioned in the documentary, where it was clear that there was some other intervention by the facilitator, typing in their own thoughts. Yeah, but yeah, sorry to end this on a bummer, but yeah, did want to share my thoughts on this documentary because I thought it was at least interesting and at least thought provoking, even though it was a hard watch. And just getting your mind to think about like how special needs people are treated, how they're valued, how families go through things, how families trust people, um, and just how things can just happen like this. And I think everyone had the best of intentions, or they thought Anna did, but clearly she did not. But yeah, if there's anything you want to let me review, give my opinion on, happy to do so. Gonna try to continue to do these weekly. Any topics you want me to bring up, happy to do so. But yeah, hope you enjoyed me coming back. Hope you enjoyed my review and also my James 2 updates. And yeah, that'll be all for now, and I will see you next week. Bye.